Good afternoon. We're here today to present to you the Herman Miller Furniture Company case study. The Herman Miller Furniture Company was founded in 1923 by Herman Miller along with his son-in-law D.J. Dupree after the purchase of the Michigan Star Furniture Company. Since then, Herman Miller has been synonymously recognized as a leader in the industrial furniture design. Not only have they been a leader in their design, they have an amazing and outstanding culture within their organization, landing them at the top of the top places to work lists each year. In this case study, we'll talk a little bit about that organizational structure and how it contributes to a number of amazing products and an amazing work life. You can click here to view a timeline of Herman Miller from their early beginnings to where they are today.
Hello everyone, my name is Christy Collins and I'm going to walk you through an analysis of the Herman Miller Furniture Company as it relates to recruitment and selection and also organizational culture. This is a perfect combination to discuss. Why? I want you to think about that as we go over the next few slides. Try to think about what the connection is between recruitment and organizational culture. I will start with recruitment and selection. High-performance teams cannot exist without people. Therefore, high-performing recruitment teams stay up to date on the latest technologies, embracing social channels and creative tactics to attract brilliant candidates. Not only do the teams need people, but to be considered high-performing, there must be a propensity or desire of those individuals to serve with such distinction. Hence, a leader has either provided the appropriate motivation or the task itself is one of personal interest. In either case, the situation lends itself to recruiting opportunities. A task of personal interest can recruit a new member just as easily as a leader of a team. Why is this relevant? The Herman Miller Furniture Company is not innovative as it relates to technologies. So why do people want to be a part of the team contrary to what I just described? And how can they be an organization with over $1 billion in revenues? It's simple. Innovation is more than technology. It includes innovation in products and processes as well as the ability to reinvent and renew yourself in changing times. It also means incentivizing your workforce. This focus was simple. Throw tradition out the window. They wanted useful, functional furniture designed specifically for the purpose that an individual wanted it for. They wanted their employees to own the entire process from start to finish, from design to production to profits. The mantra was to let employees lead. This was proven with the fact that they had 278 applicants for every job they advertised, and they maintained voluntary turnover rate of 2%. Herman Miller Furniture Company put their money where their mouth was. They wanted a talented and productive workforce, so they not only spent money to train their employees, they helped establish the Facility Management Institute in 1979. The development and the use of work team, caucuses, and councils drew people into their company. Herman Miller Furniture Company has taken significant strides to ensure employee satisfaction. In 1983, they developed a plan to have all employees as shareholders, and now employees own 8% of the company. They provide support for employee charities with benefits such as 16 hours paid leave to work for their charity. They also provide 100% tuition reimbursement, flexible work schedules, concierge services, employee discount, and various on-site benefits. Under this True North philosophy, they place focus on human development for their employees, including physical and mental safety, security, and professional challenges. It's no wonder why Herman Miller Furniture Company is able to recruit the best and the brightest employees. Organizational culture can be good or bad depending on its proclivity to change. High-performance teams Steer clear of the way we've always done it. Leaders that find it difficult to inculcate a change-ready paradigm or most certainly will fall woefully short in an uncertain, complex, and dynamic environment. Organizations with healthy cultures are said to have enhanced employee morale and team cohesiveness, enhanced employee performance, and strengthened alignment towards goal achievement. Leadership is the critical component to ensuring a positive organizational culture. They have to visualize success, describe what changes need to be made, and lead the effort with complete enthusiasm. Without this effort, teams can place doubt on success or find solace in the comfort of old or bad work habits. The Herman Miller Furniture Company shaped the organizational culture at every echelon of human interaction. It started with Herman Miller founder D.J. Dupree, whose cultural folklore and genuine desire in the well-being of his employees created a baseline for future success. The organizational values established at the beginning carried on until what was eventually codified in 2012. It included curiosity and exploration, engagement, performance, inclusiveness, design, foundations, a better world, and transparency. Having a truly genuine good climate in an organization is like writing your own check for success. This is what the leadership of Herman Miller Furniture Company demonstrated as they ensured that leadership took pay cuts before any lower-level employees had to take cuts in 2011. Leadership also has to maintain common stock at a value of 3 times an annual retainer. People at Herman Miller Furniture Company did not manage, they led. They said what they believed and did what they said. This created a significant amount of trust and loyalty within the organization and is the reason for their extremely positive organizational climate. Earlier, I asked you to think about what the connection is between recruitment and organizational culture. Based on the information I've provided, I'm sure you can draw the correlation. With a combination of shared leadership and company investment in the development and well-being of the employee, Herman Miller Furniture Company created a positive organizational culture that has harnessed their ability to recruit extremely talented individuals across the globe to join their team. This shows that the effective recruitment and selection as well as organizational culture is the difference between high and low performing organizations.
Thank you so much, Christy. My name is Jennifer Hackett, and I'll be taking us through the training and development as well as engagement and socialization portion of our case study today. When we talk about training and development, we should really touch on the pieces that Christy mentioned earlier and how training and development supports an organizational culture. What Christy mentioned was how do they bring on good and qualified talent. And what I'm going to talk about is how did Herman Miller keep that talent? How do they continue to keep that workforce that's so successful? I grabbed a couple of the post-it notes from Christy's earlier slide with transparency, performance, and foundation, because I think that's key with Herman Miller's training and development program. But while we're going through this, think in your mind, what is training and development truly? When we learned in our earlier modules, we understand that training and development looks different to different companies. It means different things to different employees. So just think about that training and development is simply a tool for success. It's there to improve employee performance in order to create a consistent employee. Because a consistent employee that continues to improve is a satisfied employee, an engaged employee, an employee who is participating in a successful organizational culture. So let's look a little bit at Herman Miller and how did they successfully implement a good training and development program. What's interesting enough is that these successful training and development programs aren't those that continue to go by everybody's standards. They're those programs that do something different. And what I found interesting in Herman Miller was that they used a team mentality when they approached programs and projects at their company. So you wouldn't necessarily be working with the same group of employees every year because they looked at things as a team. So they're going to grab different people from different departments, if you will, and bring them in to work on a team on a specific project. And the training and development that comes from working with people who have a different mentality than yours is so valuable. Another thing that I found really interesting is that a lot of the promotion at Herman Miller came from within the organization. So you can see why people would want to stay and why they'd want to be engaged, because they know, hey, if I work hard, I'm on this team, I'm making a difference within the company, I'm going to move up. They also made a note that Herman Miller continues to put money into research and development. Even when the economic downturn happened, they put money into research and development, and that set them apart. And that research and development was everything from researching new projects, products, creativity, innovation, working within their units, etc., etc. And that is a huge part of training and development. And for Herman Miller, it's what really, really makes a difference. It's interesting, the Project Purple was an example of a project that came to be with a bunch of different minds and kind of evolved and turned into something new with the accessories program at Herman Miller. But it's just an example of how successful their training and development program is. I put on our slide here an example of one of the modules that are printed and posted up in the Herman Miller production system area where their company works. It talks a little bit about their philosophy and their management system. Having something like this that really spells out what's important to the company and they have a little visual that people can walk by every day to see is so important. At Herman Miller, they've integrated all of their principles in each employee. They in their training and development have made sure that the employees feel comfortable and speaking up, sharing what they feel is important. At one part in the case, they talked about the fact that employees really, really made an effort to make sure that this company was their own. They used an example where a gentleman walked into a shop without his safety glasses on, and somebody on a lower food chain, if you will, from him ran right up to him and said, "You better put those safety glasses on. It's not part of who we are as Herman Miller." And that's just an example of how this open culture, this open communication and dialogue is so important to the Herman Miller team and is what has made them so successful. So now we've talked a little bit about the training and development that we have in the organization and how Herman Miller effectively utilizes their training to make a better employee. And Christy touched a little bit earlier on the organizational culture, which I think goes hand in hand with engagement and socialization. So engaging their employees to feel like they matter, engaging their employees to say, hey, we want you to speak up. We value your opinion regardless on what job you hold here because everybody is responsible for innovation. So when we talk about engagement and socialization, remember that we're focusing on getting employees to move forward. Everyone wants employees within their company to move towards the same goal. That's the purpose of driving your workforce forward. And also, you want collaboration within your organization. Just because people might have conflicting views from you doesn't mean that's wrong. In fact, that's actually right. You want conflicting views to broaden your sense of scope, your sense of understanding, and thus making a better product. And finally, building an effective work culture is what is made through effective engagement and socialization. So at Herman Miller, I think that one of the most important parts of their engagement and socialization plan is the what we believe statements that Christy highlighted earlier. That is their true foundation. And everything that they do within the company revolves around that statement and those points. And we talked earlier about their training and development, but it's also an engagement and socialization when they utilize the team mentality and the fact that things could constantly change. So for example, Jennifer from the marketing team may be working with Christy from HR and Ken from facilities, but only for a small period of time. So I may not normally talk to those folks because they're in a different department from me, but at that point in time, we were working on the same project together because Herman Miller feels that this is the most effective way to gain a good workforce and produce a great product. So having that opportunity to talk with people that you don't normally do business with on a normal day is really part of their engagement and socialization program throughout the company. It's interesting, they talked a lot about their community engagement as well and how they had a foundation and a philanthropic arm. Christy mentioned earlier about how Herman Miller is really focused in on the community, what their needs are, and giving back. They allow their employees to have volunteer hours, and their board and their corporate giving arm gives a lot of money to organizations in which their employees are a part of. And I think that's really interesting because that goes back to the command and control type of leadership versus a shared leadership. I think it's pretty clear by now that Herman Miller implements a shared leadership type of management style. There's not a person at the top telling you this is what we need to do, but that's also why they are so successful. That's why their products have won numerous awards year after year after year, because they don't squash dreams. They're not there to say, this is my way, this is the high, or you can take the highway. We're here to have constant conversation. And I think that's what's so important. It's interesting. In one part of the case, they shared how their organization and their culture kind of flows throughout the entire organization. They talked about how they didn't want to use certain type of material within their company, so they built in a product area out of some other type of product, which attracted wasps. Come to find out, wasps and bees don't get along so well, so they brought in a bunch of honeybees. So then they found out the honeybees will make a certain type of flower, and there's all this pollen. Thus, each member of the Herman Miller family goes home with a bottle of honey each quarter, however much bees make honey. But what I think is more important is that they had open communication, and that's just an example of it. They took something that is important to their culture, not utilizing a certain type of material because it's hazardous to their employees, and they continue to build on it. And that's how their products work. That's how their leadership style is. Take something that's not working, fix it, and build on it. And that's the Herman Miller difference. And that's what makes their employees so engaged. That's what makes them feel like their voice matters. And having a workforce that feels that they are empowered, they are heard, is what makes them so successful.
Thank you, Christy and Jennifer. My name's Ken Dolch, and I'll be talking to you about the leadership and rewards at Herman Miller. So now that we've talked about Herman Miller's high-performance organizational culture and how this is fed by recruitment, training and development, and results in engagement and rapid socialization of new team members. But what makes all of this possible is Herman Miller's leadership. In a lot of companies, leadership would refer to the executive officers or a few charismatic VPs. But at Herman Miller, leadership comes from every single team member. Now, leadership has to start somewhere, and the spark at Herman Miller was its first president, D.J. Dupree, who committed in 1927 to the idea of treating, quote, all workers as individuals with special talents and potential. In the 1950s, and with D.J. Dupree still president, Herman Miller adopted the Scanlon Plan, which acknowledges that people are motivated by more than money and uses participative leadership with a gain-sharing reward system. By engaging workers in submitting and implementing ideas that benefit them directly through more rewarding work and indirectly through the resulting company success, and then sharing responsibilities between all employees, this creates an environment of engagement, collaboration, and shared leadership. Obviously, it's not the 1950s anymore, and Herman Miller's leadership has evolved in significant ways. As mentioned earlier, the executive leadership has taken demonstrative action, including taking 2 10% pay cuts, with no cut in hours or responsibility, when production workers took a 10% cut in hours and pay in 2009. When recent recessions required long-standing policies like pension plans and lifelong employment to be changed, and a plant had to be closed down, communication was clear and explanations were delivered in person, prompting dedicated employees to be more concerned with the company's welfare than the loss of their own jobs. So clearly, Herman Miller has quality top-level leadership, but its real wealth of leadership is everywhere. Effective communication, listening, support, strategic thinking, initiative are all components of effective leadership. And Herman Miller's commitment to transparency and engagement makes it possible for everyone within the company to exercise leadership. They organize cross-functional teams for projects based on who has the best ability to help the team accomplish its goals. Research indicates that cross-functional teams can develop clearer strategies and more rapidly adapt to change. And these teams last until a project is completed, and team members, regardless of title or rank, talk, quote, up and down the ladder. This kind of shared leadership by whoever is best suited to lead on a particular topic, functional area, or at a particular time is what resulted in the anecdote Christy mentioned earlier, where the Director of Environmental Health and Safety, Paul Murray, on his first day, was warned by a production worker to put his safety glasses back on. True to DJ Dupree's philosophy and its Scanlon Plan roots, Herman Miller welcomes ideas, input, and leadership from every level. So this sounds like a great place to work, and it's about to get better. Is it any wonder that they've outpaced rivals with this culture of engagement and motivation, collaboration, and shared leadership? Well, Herman Miller also has an excellent system of benefits and rewards that helps it maintain that incredibly low 2% voluntary turnover rate mentioned earlier, and preserves its place as a perennial favorite on Fortune's 100 Best Companies to Work For list. There is a benefits overview on their website that fills 3 pages with benefits with only a brief 1 or 2 sentence overview for each benefit. Now, ever since the start of the Scanlon Plan at Herman Miller, employees have benefited from a gain-sharing reward system. But today, Herman Miller is a shared ownership company through an employee stock ownership plan, and it provides other rewards such as profit sharing, a discounted company stock purchase, and a quarterly bonus that reward all employees directly for overall company performance. Employees also receive health insurance and other mainstream benefits, but Herman Miller critically practices and reinforces shared ownership in its reward system to promote engagement, leadership, and a focus on what's in the best interest of the organization as a whole. Today, Herman Miller is an international company that has weathered the dot-com bust and the Great Recession of 2008 to 2009 as well or better than its nearest rivals. So if it's not clear already how Herman Miller has become a high-performing organization through its recruitment and selection, organizational culture, training and development, engagement and socialization, shared leadership, and shared ownership rewards, just imagine if these systems were implemented at your workplace.